22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call the police station, before they even leave, they take permission from
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
The struggle, the ASU strike.
Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a life. The president never gave me any deadline.
Welcome to Global Morning.
The death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure.
Incidentally, we have several more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call the police station, before they even leave, they take permission from
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
the struggle, the ASU strike.
Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a life. The president never gave me any deadline.
Deal with this morning, but first let's even look at the conversation that borders on it. The fact that there are a lot of happenings in the National Assembly, from the National Assembly through to the various state, local government issues are also burning. In the course of the week, we've been able to touch through a lot of those conversations that are making the rounds across the country and by extension across the federation, not just in Nigeria, but across Africa and by extension around the world, talking about Ukraine, talking about that Russia and Ukraine conflict, talking about the US-Mexico rift, and talking about that of the Southern American rift that is going on. And we've tried to look at some of this conversation even here on global television, and also we've been trying to narrow some of the conversations that is happening around Africa. But then there are a lot of improvement and big news around an African, but looking at Lagos State, for example, Lagos State just emerged as the second largest economy in the whole of Africa. Now that's kudos to Lagos State governor and also the good people of Lagos State for being enterprising and being more productive in terms of what they do, and of course they're steadfast. We can take that out of the conversation, but it's good to know that Lagos State emerged as the second largest economy in Africa. Now looking at all of this, first we want to say congratulations to Lagos State and its good people, and also looking at Lagos State as it stands right now, with the way that the Lagos State has been structured, the possibility that Lagos State is not going to emerge as the world economy is very slim. This is a full-blown touch, indigenous touch as it stands right now. Now, even South African right now are a bit skeptical about Lagos at the moment, even in Nigeria. Because if Lagos always sets the standard, so it seems for for people living in Nigeria. Lagos has a way of setting the standard, and Lagos raises the bar. Other states are bound to follow. Take a look at what's happening in Nigeria, in Oyo State right now, where the governor for your state is doing magnificently well to ensure that they compete favorably with Lagos State and other with Kano State and other commercial hub in the country. Now, not forgetting the fact that not just Oyo State that is awake to its responsibilities right now and of course doing magnificently well. We have states like Akwa Ibom State that is not sleeping anytime soon. A lot is going on in Akwa Ibom State, and take that conversation back to Abia State. A lot also is going on in Abia State. Well, not forgetting that Rivers has always been at the top of its game. Of course, Governor Fubara similarly has been on doing a lot of things in Rivers State. Now let's even look at the north in itself. For the first time in Nigerian history, we have an international airport in Maiduguri. Now that's a plus. That what that implies is that there's a balance in terms of geopolitical analysis for the international airports in the country. Now, Maiduguri, which is in the northeastern part of Nigeria, under the geopolitical setup. Now, Maiduguri now has its own airport. That's kudos, if you want to ask me at the moment. But these are some of the tangible development. Of course, we got to know some of these things during the ministerial press briefing held in Abuja National Press Center, organized by the Honorable Minister of Information. Of course, we got the scorecard of the Minister of Education, Honorable Minister Alausa, and also we got that of the Minister of Aviation and Aerospace and Development, that's Festus Keyamo. We got all of those reports going on in the country. Now, the way things are going right now for Nigeria, for Ghana, for Tunisia, for even Morocco, let's not forget Senegal. Let's not keep Senegal out of the equation. Now, it shows a significant progress in Africa. Of course, this is Global Morning. We try to look at all of this conversation that centers around Africa, centers around Nigeria, and by extension, the entire world. 7 continents, from North American, South American, African, Asia, also America through to Atlanticos and down to Australia. We'll try to look at all of this and mirror out the conversation from the angles, especially conversations that will help you make informed decision with whatever we're dishing out here on the program. But I want to sincerely apologize for starting behind a schedule. It's not intentional. It's due to circumstances that are beyond our control. But we'll go for a short break right now. But we'll return, we'll be going straight to the newspaper review. Please stay with us as Global Morning continues in a moment.
Know that global television can be watched in Nigeria and all over the world.
Download the Global TV Nigerian mobile app for Android and iOS devices to watch global television real-time from around the world. What are you waiting for?
Start downloading and stay connected to global television.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
A Global Morning aims to deliver newspaper reviews and latest news with experts on key global issues.
and at the same time keeping you well informed about important events, both national and international.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Mondays to Sundays to a wide range of the latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
The president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
Welcome back. Now let's delve into the newspapers and see what the papers are saying this morning. We'll begin with the Saturday Tribune, where we have appeal court holds emirs, that's above the nameplate. Appeal court holds emirs Sanusi's reinstatement order. Well, you find that story on page 3 of the Saturday's Tribune. Also above the nameplate here we have, I regret tearing my NCE certificate, ex Boko Haram female member. Of course, you can find that story also on the Saturday Tribune. Now, the Star story here says FG tells US Congress Christians are safe in Nigeria. Deploys, comes to the rider, deploys threat of sanction over alleged killing of Christians. Where you can find all of those, read on page 2 of the Nation's news of the, I beg your pardon, of the Saturday's Tribune newspaper. Now, you also just below the Star story here, you have Rivers Assembly adjourns indefinitely. Now that's a conversation that's very interesting. All right, so just below it we have allegations of fraud in unfounded false First Bank. You can find that story on page 4. That of River State story also, you can find it on page 4 of the Saturday Tribune. Now, my wife washed a private bath, used the water to cook food for me, man tells Ibadan court. You can find all of those interesting read on page 12 of Saturday's Tribune. 90 people, that's at the foot of the paper. We have 90 people, not 500 affected in Aleshiloye Ibadan market fire. You can find that story. That's from the victims are saying 90 people, not 500 affected in Aleshiloye Ibadan market fire. You can find it on page 4 of that paper. Now you can also go and find a story here that says defection or mockery mocks El-Rufai over Buhari. You can find that read on page 4 of the Saturday's Tribune. Do well to go out there and get yourself a copy of a Saturday's Tribune to get yourself abreast with happenings in the country, especially within this angle. So let's even move to the next paper right now, which is we'll be going straight to the Blueprint newspaper. The Blueprint newspaper begins above its nameplate, says that's on Saturday's weekend Blueprint. Above its nameplate says on mockery, thumbs up Tinubu's strides, mocks El-Rufai over Buhari. Now you can go get that read on the page 11 of Blueprint Weekend. You can get all of the story there, and also it comes with a star story that says how we are tackling menace by FG orders. That is on the story of Marjorie's out of school kids. That's from the Minister of Education. Alausa come out to say that how we are tackling the menace by FG orders. You can find that story on the Blueprint Weekend. Also, it comes with a rider that said there is 13.2 million out of school children not most affected. UNICEF, we have rescued over 20 girls from early marriage in Sokoto. Official menace can be tackled with continued support. Monarch. Well, all of this read you can find on the Blueprint newspaper. Not forgetting that we have a story here that says my passion for storytelling outside cinema keeps me going. Aminu Momo has come out to speak on that. You can find it on page 17 to know what Aminu Momo have come out to say about his passion for storytelling even in Hausa cinemas. You can go out there and get yourself a copy. Also, we have here a story here that says towards preserving local languages from extinction. Towards preserving local languages from extinction. You can find that read on page 13. We will support documentary on Nigerians' 25 years of unbroken democracy, FG. You can find that read on page 10. Also, we have a story here, local equity market sustains, that's on business in the Blueprint. On business on the Blueprint, it has local equity market sustains a bearish run, sheets 167 billion naira. You can find that read on page 10 on business, even on the Blueprint weekend newspaper. All right, we have a story here that says Rivers crisis. What next for Fubara? Interesting rhetorical question there. What next for Fubara? At the foot of the Blueprint newspaper, we have Natasha's petitions to IPU dead on arrival. Ibrahim Jimo have come out to say. You can find that read also on page 11 of the paper. And you want to get yourself, you want to know what's going on even within the Senate, and also how Natasha's appearance before the IPU died before arriving even on the IPU. You can go out there and get yourself a copy of the blueprints to stay abreast with what's going on even in the country this morning. All right, we'll move on to the next paper, and the next paper for us here is the Saturday Vanguard. Saturday Vanguard. Now, above the nameplate, Burna Boy shines in Paris fashion show. Burna Boy shines in Paris fashion show. You can find that on page 30. You can find that read on page 30 of the Vanguard, Saturday's Vanguard. Wrath in judiciary. Wrath in judiciary. What I told Justice Kekere Ekum in a supermarket. Shola Akinyede, I beg your pardon. Shola Akinyede said, wrath in judiciary. What I told Kekere Ekum in a supermarket. You can find that read on page 35. When I find out what he told Kekere Ekum, who happens to be the Chief Justice of the Federation, you can find that read and more on that read on page 35. That's above the nameplate of the Saturday's Vanguard. All right, so above the nameplate of the Saturday's Vanguard, we have FIFA cancels election. How Pinnick was schemed out. FIFA cancelled election. How Pinnick was schemed out. Page 24. Well, it's an interesting read. I don't want to delve into that conversation right now, but it's an interesting read. You need to go out there and get yourself a copy to stay abreast with what's going on, even within the sporting industry, to know what transpired. All right, so we have a story here that says that's just immediately after the nameplate. It says an uncommon letter to Senator Natasha. You find that story on page 40 of Saturday's Vanguard. Uncommon letter to Senator Natasha. Now that is, when it has to do with anything uncommon in this country, that it has been nexused or linked to the person of the Senate president. So let's assume that this is coming from the Senate president as it stands right now. But it's titled Uncommon Letter to Senator Natasha. What's the content of the letter? You want to find out the content of the letter? Well, go get yourself a copy of Saturday's Vanguard to know what's going on even in the uncommon letter syndrome right now. All right, so we have a star story here that says Rivers crisis, judicial panel faults Supreme Court judgment. This is quite interesting. Judicial panel faults Supreme Court judgment. Tinubu's directive splits South-South leaders. Now you can find that story. There's a star story here on page 9. Judicial panel faults Supreme Court judgment. Now, so after the judgment has been passed and a lot of this decision has been reached, what next? Even the judgment will be faulted, but can it be revoked? Can the Supreme Court undo itself? Especially with the case of Rivers State. A lot of lawyers have come out to condemn the judicial decision by the Supreme Court, saying that some of what was even given as the reaffirming the Rivers State House of Assembly was not part of the prayers that was submitted even to the court. So invariably, like lawyers will say, that the court became a Father Christmas and started giving out. But how correct is that? I can say at the moment, all I can say is that lawyers have come out to air their grievances and their displeasure over the decision by the Supreme Court. Of course, this in order to solidify that, of course, Saturday's Vanguard captured it by saying that judicial panel fault Supreme Court judgment. That's a star story. You can find that story on page 9 of the Saturday's Vanguard. Now, we have a story here that says Tinubu's directive splits South-South leaders. Plot to impeach Fubara thickens. Ijaw group respond to Wike's threat. Recall, we had that conversation even here on a show. Recalled that Egbesu, more of the war arm or the military arm of the Ijaw community have come out. He spoke yesterday for saying that they will shock the president if anything happens to Fubara or if Fubara is impeached. But all of those stories you can find on page 11 of the Saturday's Vanguard. Now we have a story here: how to lower fuel consumption of your car. Now you want to know how to lower fuel consumption on your car. You need to go out there and get yourself a copy. Now we have a picture story here of Diana Inyache. You want to find out about Diana Inyache? Go to page 30 of the Vanguard newspaper, which is a picture story there. Now we have a story here just at the foot of the Saturday's Vanguard. It says Appeal Court holds Emir Sanusi's reinstatement. Here we go again. Appeal Court holds Emir Sanusi's reinstatement. You can find that on page 6 of the Saturday's Vanguard. All right, so moving on, we have Damagum bows as PDP governors move to reassert selves over party affairs. Damagum bows as PDP governors move to reassert selves over party affairs. You can find that read on page 7 of the Vanguard newspaper. Now let's get punchy this Saturday, and it's Saturday's Punch. Well, it has a story here just beside at the right corner of the nameplate here. We have father has collected money from me several times, says Ashake after viral video. I recall that Ashake's dad was video went viral where he was seen asking for support from the social media. And Ashake has come out to say father has collected money from me several times, says Ashake after viral video. You can find that read and more even on page 17 of the Punch newspaper. Now, we have a story here that says just below the nameplate, we have a story that says Dangote refinery gets fresh crude cargoes from NNPCL. Now, that's an interesting read. You can find that story on the Punch newspaper, page 26 of the Punch newspaper. We have another story here that says Fubara in limbo as lawmakers suspend sitting indefinitely. Interesting conversations in River State. You can find that story on page 4 of the Punch newspaper. A lot of people have asked, how can a state assembly hold the entire people of River State to ransom? How can you suspend plenary and sections indefinitely? Now, what that implies is that there will be no project constructions in River State. What that implies is that there will be no infrastructural development in River State. What that means is automatically what it implies is some of the commissioners that are being sworn in and are working right now with Governor Siminalayi Fubara, they are all working on a legal portfolio because based on the constitution, they needed to be affirmed and confirmed by the State House of Assembly before managing their portfolio. But we'll see how this plays out in the coming days, how the Assembly will hold a whole state to ransom. It's an interesting read. So you need to go out there and get yourself a copy of the Punch newspaper, of course, to get punchy even this morning, because it's a very good way to start your day even this morning. Now, the Punch newspaper comes with a star story here that says Buhari ex-ministers lead APC defection train to SDP. Buhari's ex-minister lead APC defection train to SDP. What's going on in the SDP? Of course, we've seen viral videos of the SDP presidential candidate Adebayo trending just recently, and of course a lot of conversation has been redirected to the SDP. The SDP is right now in Nigeria becoming one of the force to reckon with in the political dynasty. So right now we say after PDP, after the APC, after the Labour Party, then you move straight to the SDP. Of course, they're building a name and a good track record for themselves. But Buhari ex-minister, who is that ex-minister of Buhari that led the train of defection to the SDP? You want to find out all of this? You can find that read also on page 4 of the Punch newspaper. Now, it comes with the rider that says 10 former senior ministers set to move with loyalists. CPC bloc may exit APC campaign against Tinubu. All of this you can find even on the page 4 of the Punch newspaper. Now, on entertainment on the Punch, it has a story here that says Al Mohbad died after I treated him. Nurse opened up in court. Interesting read. You can find that story on page 5 of the Punch newspaper. Alright, there's a story here that says Lagos demolished schools turn plank dumps as government foot drags on reconstruction. You can find that read on the Punch newspaper. It comes with a picture right now, so you can find also the I don't trust words of a honey man, Queen Agbo. It comes with a picture, I don't trust words of a hardy man. You can find that story on page 16 of the Punch newspaper. Who is Queenette Agbo? You want to find out who Queenette Agbo is? You can find that story on the Punch newspaper to get punchy this morning. How I became an American George, Nigerian-born woman, Adebayomi Ajayoba, has come out to say how she became an American George. You want to find that read? Of course, you could find that read on page 27 of the Punch newspaper. On the foot of the Punch newspaper, you have a story here that says, husband beat my daughter to death after I stopped her divorce. Bauchi's father. Alright, so husband beat my daughter to death after I stopped her divorce. Well, you can find that read on the Punch newspaper what transpired and how it's going right now. What's the judge, what's the court's verdict on all of this conversation. You can find on the Punch newspaper this morning. All right, so we'll delve straight to the Nation's newspaper. All right, so above the nameplate, we'll have a story here that says, Rivers anxiety over budget as Assembly adjourns indefinitely. Now, I think this is captured in all the newspaper. It comes with the rider, though. The rider says, receptions for Wike to hold amidst controversy. Well, we understand that the former Rivers State Governor and current FCT Minister wants to hold a Thanksgiving service even in Rivers State. And of course, some chieftain of Rivers State have come out to say, you can't be causing controversy in our state and you want to hold the Thanksgiving in our state. Take the Thanksgiving to where you are domiciled, which is the Federal Capital Territory. And of course, there are a lot of churches in the Federal Capital Territory because they won't allow the minister of the Federal Capital Territory to hold a Thanksgiving mass or service in in Rivers State. So we've seen more police and also security. We believe, let us say we believe that a lot of security interventions will be also seen because it's a Rivers anxiety over budget as it's a reception for Wike to hold amidst controversies. Well, let's see how that plays out even in Rivers State. Of course, we'll promise to keep track on that report and bring you details of it. But then again, let's move on right now. Appeal Court stops Sanusi reinstatement as Emir of Kano. Of course, all this is making the rounds on all the national dailies. You can go out there and get yourself a copy to know what's going on. It has a star story here. Corruption, fresh knocks for Obasanjo over attacks on Tinubu, Buhari. It comes with a rider. Grief, ex-president least qualified to accuse anyone of corruption. Provide basis for your allegation. Ex-ACF chief tells Obasanjo. You can find all of those stories there on the Nation's newspaper. Not forgetting that we have a story here that says Senate face off the many lives of Natasha. Senate face off the many lives of Natasha. You want to find that story? Of course, you can get the story on. You can take that read on page 23 of the Nation's newspaper. Just beside that story, we have a story here. Tinubu to Catholic bishops. I won't be a religious bigot. It comes with a rider. FJ debunks claim of targeted killings of Christians. All right, so all of this, bishops going to see the president, probably due to the fact that the U.S. Congress are saying, have come out to say that there's a lot of killings of Christians in Nigeria. The same U.S. Congress have come out to say that some weeks ago, that Nigerian USAID was used to sponsor a lot of criminal activities in Nigeria. A congressman said that. And right now, the Congress have said that a lot of Christians have been killed. Of course, the federal government have come out to debunk that particular allegation that Christians are not being targeted or Christians are not being killed in Nigeria. So hopefully the bishops of Nigeria went to show their solidarity to the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. But then we've yet to get Khan's position on this allegation. How true is it to say that a lot of Christians have been killed in Nigeria? You can find all of those, read and get involved in that conversation, even on the Nation's newspaper this morning. Now, at the foot of the Nation's newspaper, we have First Bank refutes allegation of fraud against its operation. All of that, read, you can find on the Nation's newspaper. Now, let's move on to another paper right now. We have the Sunday Telegraph. Sunday Telegraph. The nameplate. U.S. report. Tinubu committed to religious tolerance presidency. Of course, that's what we just spoke about some couple of seconds back. All right, so I've given you the details of that, but you can go also to get yourself acquainted and abreast with what's going on, what the U.S. Congress have said, and what the president is doing. So we won't have to go back to that conversation. All right, so World Cup qualifiers, Eagle lists handiwork of NFF, not Chile's Elaho. That's on sports. You can find that story on page 31. Well, how Eagles list handiwork of NFF. Is this to say that the NFF has a large influence even on the Eagles, Super Eagles list for the World Cup qualifier? Well, all of this you can find on page 31 of the Saturday's Telegraph. You can find that conversation. All right, we have a story here beside the star story. The CBN surveys shows business optimistic about economy. That's on business. You can find that story on page 4. Unidentified woman jumps into Lagos Lagoon, dies. You can find that story on page 2 of Saturday's Telegraph. Yeah, another story here. Kano's appeal court stops reinstatement of Sanusi as emir. Orders transfer of suit to Kano State High Court. Well, you can find that story on page 5 of the Saturday's Telegraph. Now, the big story here, the star story, says allow Fubara to brief. Sage tells Wike as governor writes assembly again. Proposed to present budget March 19. House adjourns indefinitely. Now, interesting read. You can go get yourself a copy to know what's going on in Rivers State. Of course, this is a story that is making the rounds on almost all the national dailies. You can go out there and get yourself a copy to stay abreast. 1 year after invasion, pains, questions lingered in Okwama. We can get yourself a copy. Of course, you have that story on page 26 of the Saturday's Telegraph. You can get yourself a copy of the Saturday's Telegraph to know what's going on. NAFDAC uncovers $1.4 million fraud scheme targeting foreign firms. You want to know what NAFDAC is doing and how they've been able to undo a lot of these issues around. You can get yourself a copy of that to stay abreast of what NAFDAC is doing. All right, so we get to our last story for the morning, and this is the Guardian newspaper. It comes with a story above the nameplate here that says CBN driving 2024-2028 strategy with merit-based appointments. Now, that story you can find on page 4 on the Saturday's Guardian. That's the Guardian weekend. All right, you have a story here also above the nameplate that says Atiku Abubakar as bells tolls for a political maestro. You can find that story also on page 29 of the Saturday's Guardian. A star story here says at Guardian Woman Festival, Echoes of financial literacy. Accelerated investment keeps pulsating. You can find that story on pulsating. You can find that story on page 8 and 9 of the Guardian Weekend newspaper. Of course, it comes with a lot of stories here that says Tony Elumelu's foundation sets to announce 2025 cohorts of TEF entrepreneurship program. That's the Tony Elumelu Foundation program. That's the TEF. It's an acronym for Tony Elumelu's program. Of course, you can find that story. Omokri comments Tinubu's strides, mocks El-Rufai over Buhari's loyalty to APC. You can find that story on the page 36 of the Guardian newspaper. Before Rivers State fire consumes Abuja. This is a very interesting read. You can find also this story. Now, at the foot of the Guardian newspaper, we have fraud allegation against us by customers are false, unfounded. We can find that story on page 37. First Bank have come out to say that fraud allegation against the bank is unfounded. How we have, let's take, although I've said that will be our last paper, let's see if we can do this. Saturday is the Weekend Trust newspaper, which will be our last because of our time. We have a story here that says Kanu Emirship tussle waits for Supreme Court verdict, justice. FG to US Christians not target of insurgency in Nigeria. Fresh hurdles for Fubara as assembly adjourns indefinitely. Is Nigerian economy improving? Citizens speak out on living condition. You can go out there and get yourself a copy of the Weekend Trust, of course, to get yourself abreast of what's going on in the country right now. Of course, heat waves. You go to find out about heat wave ranges in the country. Our night football is changing social business environment. Our night football is changing social business environment. Okay, you can find out about that story. Our night football. What is even night football? What does it imply? That's all the stories you can find on the Trust newspaper. And battles hippos, the struggle of Gombe farmers to protect crop. Well, you can find all of those stories. Well, that's how far we can go with the newspaper reviews, even on the show today. Many thanks for staying with us until this time of the day. I want to say death. All of those papers and more can be gotten across the country. These are national dailies. Go out there, get yourself a copy. And don't forget that you can always keep track of the conversation here on a global television by following us across all our social media handle displayed on the screen right now. You can join the conversation, keep track of the conversation, and also be a contributor by going to our social media at Global TV NG to be a part of the conversation. Not forgetting also that you can download the Global TV mobile app to keep track of our daily broadcasts. Should you want to do that right away, of course, you can go to your Android and iOS devices, and you can download the Global Television Nigerian app to keep track of our daily broadcasts and stay afloat with what's going on even in the country, in Africa, and by extension across Nigeria. My name is Godwin Sunday. Till Global Morning returns even to you on this station, do always remember that peace and unity are the pathways to progress. Till I come your way again, it's bye for now.
Welcome to Global Morning.
Death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies to, for sure.
Incidentally, we have several more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call the police station, before they even leave, they take permission from
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
the struggle, the ASU strike.
Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a life. The president never gave me any deadline.